Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and this is a show where it's just all open forum topics. You know, we save a little bit of time on the John Campea show in the mornings for some live questions, but in the afternoon, it's all we do, all open forum, all live questions. That's what we're doing here today. So let's get things started right off the bat and not waste any time. And we start things off today with Dimsum05, who writes, what do you think about the ABC comedies like Modern Family, The Goldbergs, Blackish, etc.? Don't watch hardly any of them. I don't watch an awful lot of TV now. I used to watch Modern Family quite a bit. Like, I used to watch Modern Family a lot, but for whatever reason, not because I stopped liking it, I loved it, but I just didn't have enough time to watch a lot of TV. So about 2.5 years ago, I kind of fell off of the show, but I thought the writing on it was brilliant. But I've never watched Blackish, never watched the Gold. Well, no, that's not true. I've seen a couple episodes of Goldbergs. I liked what I saw. But yeah, I don't have a lot of time for TV, so I haven't seen a lot of the ABC comedies, to be honest with you. Chris Corcoran writes, could the chances of an animated Overwatch movie be hurt by the box office of Warcraft based on another Blizzard title? It's not so much just Warcraft. It's all video game movies. All of them. It's not just a single Blizzard title. It's everything. It's the entire genre that we've seen so far that have just failed to produce any good results at that point. If anything's going to affect something like that, and besides, an animated Overwatch movie would never hit theaters. They could make a low-budget Overwatch animated movie and put it straight to video or something like that. That could still happen. But as far as something that's, you know, theatrical release, I wouldn't count on it anytime soon. I wouldn't count on it. Nathan Oswald writes, what differentiates a D-list actor from a C-list actor, and what differentiates a B-list actor from an A-list actor? I mean, there's no guideline. There's no chart that says, if you do this, this, and this, you just know, you know, like Brad Pitt is an A-list actor. Like, when you think of movie stars in that first big group that you think of would be a Brad Pitt, would be a Jennifer Lawrence, would be a George Clooney, would be a Denzel Washington, would be, you know, those types of names, clearly A-list. Then you go down a little bit to maybe the next rung of actors that you would think of, but it's all subjective opinion. I mean, there's no, like I said, definitive objective chart that quantifiably measures out what's in A, what's in B. It's really just what's the word I'm looking for? And it's just a way that we word it for ourselves. It's all a subjective thing. Like I said, there's no definitive chart. Micah T writes, Domino instantly became one of my favorite female hero of all time. Really loved her character and now have a major crush on Zazie Beetz. She was really good in Deadpool. And it's not that I think there was anything wrong with her performance. There just wasn't a lot for her to do. But anyway, she's great in the movie. But I thought they could have given her even a little bit more to do. You know what I'm saying? I really started to like Zazie Beetz because of her work on Atlanta. And I wasn't really watching Atlanta, but Anne watches Atlanta. So if she's home and she's watching it, then that's what I'm watching too. And she's beautiful, she's talented, she's all that kind of stuff. I hope we see her around in this franchise for a long time because you're right, she's great in the movie as Domino. And, you know, I mentioned this in my review, I think, of Deadpool 2. The Domino they gave us was not like any incarnation of Domino I've ever thought about out of the comic books. But I love the Domino they gave us. I really do. I really liked her character. I liked her interaction with Wayne. And every time, not to give any spoilers away, but just a line that she says, "You're doing great." I just love it when she says that. There's something so adorable about it. Kyle B writes, Cargo is at 88 on Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe Netflix finally has a hit movie. But why would you think that a zombie genre is oversaturated? I don't think it is. Thanks. Oh, I think it's been oversaturated. They're all the same. All the zombie stuff is all the same. That doesn't mean there aren't some that are really great and worth watching. There absolutely are. But they're all the same. Somebody's got zombies. If you get bit, you turn into a zombie. They're all the same. You can play around with it, but like even just the fact that like one of the top shows on TV for the last 7 years has been Walking Dead. So it's like we've been getting a new zombie movie every single week for the last 7 years. So yeah, I feel like the zombie movie I have very little interest in zombie movies. The one thing I will say about Cargo, and for those of you who don't know what Kyle's talking about, is this new movie on Netflix that stars Martin Freeman from The Hobbit as a dad who's been bit. And apparently, like in this world, there's either 24, 48, or 72 hours. I can't remember. Once you get bit, you got a certain amount of time before you turn. And he's got a baby. I can't remember if it's a baby girl or a baby boy. So he's got, the clock is ticking for him to get his baby to safety before he turns. And it's an interesting premise. I gotta admit, because it's a zombie thing, it doesn't really capture me all that much. So if I get a chance, I'll sit around and watch it, but I'm not planning, I'm certainly not gonna spend my Friday night watching it. I'm not planning on using any time of my free time on the weekend to watch it. So who knows, maybe I'll get around to watching it, but it's just not something that appealed to me. If it appealed to you, that's awesome and that's great. And apparently if it's got an 88 on Rotten Tomatoes, clearly there are people who are enjoying it. And maybe I'll enjoy it once I watch it. But I just don't feel any kind of need or desire to check it out at this point. But let's see. Chris Kokorin writes, will studios trust Michael Bay after his recent box office performance and critical reaction? Even 13 Hours didn't do well. 13 Hours did pretty well. Yeah, 13 Hours did pretty well. Not to mention he just produced A Quiet Place, which did really well. Say what you will and what I will about the Transformers movies, they made money. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, they shouldn't maybe, but I mean, yeah, they're going to line up. The studios will line up to let Michael Bay direct a movie because his movies make money. It's just that, I mean, we can think whatever we want about them, but they make money. I mean, this is kind of that black and white. Let's see. Alex Pitt writes, the trailer for Happy Time Murders was hilarious. It was beyond hilarious. I laughed myself sick at that thing. I've watched it like 4 or 5 times today. I just love it. Caleb Bradford, who writes, well, and there's some disagreement here. I highly disagree with you about the Happy Time Murders trailer. In my opinion, it looks awful. Well, I mean, that's the subjectivity of film, man. There's going to be things that you think that look great that other people will think is terrible. Things that other people think look great that you'll think looks terrible. And that's the subjectivity of film. And you know, I am seeing a divide. The type of humor, clearly, in the Happy Time Murders trailer is not for everybody. That type of humor is clearly not for everybody. But I'm going to admit, it works for me. I found myself laughing hysterically. And the whole theater I was in last night, when that trailer played, the theater erupted in that. So there are going to be people it really appeals to. There are going to be people that it doesn't. Nobody's right or wrong. But yeah, it's definitely going to have to be a movie that's for you if you're going to check it out. And if it's not, then the trailer's not going to be funny. Totally understandable. But yeah, for me, it totally worked. And the audience I was with, it totally worked for. Alex Pitt writes, just spent the day watching the entire season 2 of 13 Reasons Why. It wasn't as amazing as season 1, but it's still a pretty decent watch. I've never even watched the first season. I've just never felt compelled. There's a lot of Netflix TV series that I like and that I'll watch and I'll binge. But for whatever reason, 13 Reasons was not one of them. So I can't really speak to that. I know that the second season just came out. And I'm hearing some good things about it from people who are watching it. But I guess you got to be into the first season to bother with the second season. And I just never even bothered watching the first season. So I really don't know. Daryl C. writes, John, it's simple. Step 1, buy Thanos hot toy through your company. 2, display it behind you. 3, write it off your taxes as a business expense. Win-win. Well, no, I could get the business to buy it. Because I've been thinking about buying the Thanos toy just so I can do an unboxing of it and talk about the toy and all that kind of stuff. Totally a business expense. Just as the head of my company, I don't know that I don't know if I want to spend almost $400 of company money on the toy. You know what I'm saying? I'm struggling with that. I like to try to be financially responsible when and if I can, but you might see me break down and get that toy. You might see me break down and get it. Because that Thanos toy looks amazing, man. It looks beyond amazing. Murray writes, saw Deadpool 2 last night. Had a blast. By the way, that Happy Time Murders made me roll on the floor laughing. I can't wait. And again, it's just a good example of there's a lot of stuff. It's all subjective, man. There's going to be a lot of people that this trailer works for. I mean, this is not a middle-of-the-road trailer. This is a trailer I think you're either going to love or you're going to hate. It doesn't pull any punches that way. It's going, and you're not right or wrong for loving it or hating it. It's just that it clearly is a certain type of movie that is not going to appeal to everybody. That you can just see right off the top. It's not going to appeal to everybody. They're not even trying to appeal to everybody. But for those of us it's going to appeal to, yeah, like you and me, Maria, it's pretty damn funny. All right, Josh Crichton writes, yesterday I watched American Housewife Season 2 finale. The best line came from Nathan Fillion saying, I'm riding a cameo disguise as an elephant. I have no idea what you're talking about. First of all, I've never heard of the show American Housewife, so there's that. I know who Nathan Fillion is. I'm riding a cameo disguise as an elephant. So since I don't even know what show we're talking about, I can't really comment on that. Let's see. Mason Barr writes, John, just want to say sorry I haven't sent in a super chat in a couple of weeks. Oh, Mason, you owe nothing. No one is supposed to send in super chats or supposed to be a Patreon supporter or supposed to be anything. If you do, wonderful. If you don't, you do not owe it to us. I'm just glad you're here being a film fan. Never apologize for that, man. Nobody owes anything. A lot going on in my life, good and bad. Was able to see Deadpool 2 twice today. It was funnier the second time. I completely agree. It was funnier the second time. I saw it for my second time last night. Obviously, I saw the press screening of it last week, and I loved it. I saw it for a second time last night, and I think I loved it even more. And, you know, after I saw it for the first time, I said, I'm not sure. It might be better than the first. For me, it's better than the first. I enjoyed it even more than the first one. And I didn't think that was really possible because I liked the first one so much. But I think they took all the things that were good about the first one and just sort of built on it and pushed it even further. And the humor just made me laugh harder and longer. It just really clicked for me, man. Really clicked for me. So I'm glad you enjoyed it too, Mason. All right. Josh Crichton writes, did you mean ask? I have to ask you this question, John. I bet you where I got it from. Is there really flying Elvis says in Vegas? Oh, that's a honeymoon in Vegas reference. Is that what you're going for? The honeymoon in Vegas reference? I think I see where you're going there. By the way, let me know if I'm right or not. I don't know off the top of my head. Borman writes, at the end of Movie Club, should we expect that John Campea is really the imaginary friend of Edward Norton? By the way, Laurel and Yanny. You know, I've heard about the Laurel and Yanny thing. I've never listened to it. I've never watched it. So I have no idea if I'm one of those people who hear Laurel, and I don't know if I'm one of those people who hear Yanny, because I've never actually taken the time to stop and listen to it. I just heard people talking about it all the time. I should let you guys know that I am postponing Movie Club. Movie Club is being postponed a couple of weeks. I just realized Sunday's just too full. I mean, Sundays are supposed to be everybody else's day off, but Sunday I got open mic in the morning. Then we got the Deadpool spoiler discussion at 2 p.m. Don't forget about that. Sunday, 2 p.m., the Deadpool spoiler discussion. And then we were going to do Movie Club at 4 p.m. And I just thought, you know what, it's too much. I'm not going to be able to do it. It's too much. Not to mention Anna and I are supposed to go out that night. So, and then the following week, the following Sunday, we have the solo spoiler discussion. So there's going to be that. So, yes, I'm going to be pushing Movie Club at least a couple of weeks. I'll put out a notification on my social media. And it sucks. I've been really excited about getting it going, but I just got to try to play it smart. And I think I'm just overcrowding the weekends a little bit too much. So I'm postponing Movie Club. The first one we're doing is still Gladiator. So if you haven't had a chance to watch Gladiator yet or watch it again, this is going to buy you a couple of weeks. But we're going to get going on that in a couple of weeks. Josh follows up. This Tuesday coming up, I have a movie crisis. Black Panther is still in theater near me, so I want to see. Also, I want to see Deadpool 2. It's a tough choice. Already saw Infinity War. Well, Black Panther is now on home video. Let me just double check here, but I'm pretty sure Black Panther is now available on digital. Yeah, Black Panther's available on digital now. You can watch it at home. You can watch it at home. Now, you could go watch it in the movie theater, yes, but if you're faced with the decision of having to see Black Panther or see Deadpool 2 in the theater, watch Black Panther at home with a bunch of people and then go see Deadpool 2 in theater. That's what I would recommend at any rate. Dakota Barber writes, Saw Deadpool 2 today, had a blast from start to end, without spoilers until Sunday. I was surprised how great of a heart the movie has. Love Cable and Domino. Yeah, there is more heart in this movie than you'd think. And I'm not going to lie. I was in the theater last night. There's a certain part in the movie when I heard some people crying. So I'm not going to go into anything else, except I heard some people crying. And it's like, who would have thought a movie like this could elicit that kind of response from some people? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's absolutely crazy, but it's also magnificent and wonderful at the same time. Okay, let's move on here. Nathan Oswald writes, who makes movie end credits, director or studio? Probably the studio. I'm going to guess. I don't know why the director would have anything to do with that. Dakota Barber writes, also, those post-credit scenes are gold. Yeah, I mean, you've been hearing us not only here on my channel, but you've been hearing people all over the web talking about how the end credits in Deadpool 2 are probably the best end credits in any movie ever. And after watching it again last night, I'm gonna stand to that. I'm gonna say, yep, I completely believe that. I think those are the best ones ever. By the way, guys, I'm gonna let you guys know I need to cut today's show is not gonna be a full hour. I need to cut it short. I got a few things pressing that I got to get done. Not to mention I've got a companion video I got to get done. I've got an Avengers Infinity War spoiler discussion part 6 I got to do. We're weeks into it, and I'm still not done getting caught up on those questions. So I got a few things I got to get caught up today, just so you know. So open mic's going to be cut a little bit short today. All right, let's go up to Caleb Bradford, who writes, did you like Josh Brolin as Cable? I've heard a few people say he was too campy. Oh, I disagree. I thought it was great. The problem is, it's not Thanos. It's a totally different character than Thanos. And Thanos being quite possibly the greatest comic book movie villain ever. And then you come out of that into anything else, there's going to be a set of expectations, whatever. I thought Cable was great. Best thing ever? No, but I thought Cable was great. Too campy? I don't buy that at all. No. I mean, look, it's all subjective. Some people might feel like it's campy, and maybe it'll hit you as being campy. For me, not even a little. Not in the least did it feel campy. Josh follows up with, going to be taking some time off from you. Got a busy week next week. Going to go see Queens of the Stone Age and working on the outline for a novel. Well, hey, man, like everybody's got a life, dude. You got to fit it in when you can. Nathan Oswald writes, my favorite film of 2018 is Ready Player One. I love it so much. Hey, look, I love Ready Player One. Now, it may not even be in my top 5 right now because a lot of great films have come out. Obviously, we've got A Quiet Place, which may still be my favorite movie of the year. I'm not quite sure. We've got Avengers Infinity War. We've got Black Panther. We've got Deadpool 2. I mean, there's just a lot of great stuff that's come out. Right now, I'm probably wrestling back and forth between whether Deadpool 2 or A Quiet Place is my favorite movie of the year so far. Probably might still be A Quiet Place, but Deadpool 2 is certainly challenging for it. But Ready Player One, look, and I talked about this in my review of it. I never even read the book. Like, I have no knowledge about the book. I don't know anything about the book or the story in the book or anything like that. So I went in pretty clean. I mean, I have a general idea about what it's about. Like, I kind of had a basic idea of knowing what it's about. But really, for the most part, I went into that movie clean. And I was thoroughly impressed. I really enjoyed that movie a hell of a lot. And it was just such a great adventure. And, you know, nobody does that kind of thing better than Steven Spielberg. He just absolutely crushed it. And I really like the performances in it. And I love the style of the CGI because they did the CGI in such a way that it wasn't necessarily meant to be completely photoreal. It's supposed to feel like game avatars. And that, it just felt right. You know what I mean? I thought the villain was a bit weak, played by Mendelsohn. Not that there's anything wrong with the Mendelssohn's performance. It's just the way it was written. I think that's probably the biggest weakness of Ready Player One to me was how the villain was written. I think they could have done a better job with that. But other than that, yeah, man, Ready Player One, so good. So good. It's been a great year for movies so far. All right. Big jump. Where'd Anthony go? There he is. Anthony R. writes, I was considering going to Star Wars Celebration 2019, but The Last Jedi and the fan community have left a sour taste in my mouth. I think I will go to E3 in 2019, to the E3 2019 video game convention instead. Never been to Cali. Oh, well, yeah, come enjoy. I mean, it used to be that E3, you could only go to E3 if you were part of the industry and got an invitation. But I believe, and I've never been to E3, but I believe now the way they do it is that it's open to the public as well. Like, I believe the public can go to E3 and go have a good time at it. I don't know how you get passes. You have to probably spend a whole hell of a lot to get passes. But you can get passes to E3 and you can go and be a part of that, which is great if you can do it. And if you can get passes, because apparently it's still not easy. Even though it's open to the public now, apparently it's still not easy to get passes. My buddy Ryan was over here the other day, and he's actually getting industry passes, so he gets to go now, which is really fun. I like The Last Jedi, and I really like Solo, but yeah, the whole toxicity in the Star Wars fandoms turned me off. So I do not think I'm going to be going to Star Wars Celebration in 2019. Joseph A. Reinhard writes, hey, John, huge fan. Thank you so much, Joseph. My favorite part of Deadpool 2 is how they focus more on Wade than Deadpool. They added a lot more emotional depth to him. I think what they really did was showing that there is no dichotomy. Like, Deadpool Wade Wilson is not like Bruce Wayne Batman. It's not like mild-mannered reporter Clark Kent and Superman Man of Steel. Wade and Deadpool are not like secret identities. They're one and the same. Wade is Deadpool. Deadpool is Wade. I think what you're describing is focusing more on Wade than Deadpool was. They just focus more on the person of Deadpool rather than the action of Deadpool. And they do, to terrific effect. So I agree with you. I feel like in this movie, they focus a little bit more on the person of Deadpool, which you're defining as Wade. But they're focusing more on the person of Deadpool than the heroic action of Deadpool. And I agree with that. I think they really do that, which I just think heightens the movie because it gives his action more dramatic meaning. And in a movie like Deadpool, do you need a whole hell of a lot of dramatic meaning? No, maybe not. But it certainly doesn't hurt. And when you do it right, as I feel they did in Deadpool 2, it gives more oomph to the ridiculous humor and the ridiculous action. Give him dramatic purpose, and then the ridiculousness is even heightened, which is kind of funny how that works, but it does work out that way quite often. Let's see. Joseph Crichton writes, 1 year ago today, Chris Cornell died. Still so sad. Lead singer of Soundgarden, right? And not long after, Chester Bennington of Linkin Park. If you are struggling with your demons, get help. Don't let them take your life. Become an advocate for others. I mean, it's true words. You know, I was mentioning just this past week, or just a couple of days ago, I found out that somebody I knew had just committed suicide. I still don't know any details, which I guess details are irrelevant at this point. But absolutely, yes. If you are somebody who struggles with stuff like that, don't wait till it gets bad. I mean, talk to somebody. Find somebody to talk to. And if there's nobody you know that you feel like you can talk to, call somebody. Because it's never too early to do that. Just take care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Take care of yourself. Good reminder, Josh. Devontae Brown writes, Arrow finale thoughts. For me, pretty good and bleak. And were they teasing the cool storyline of that scrapped Green Arrow film script from years ago? Well, yeah, for those of you who don't know, there was a while ago, and I believe David Goyer was going to, I think he wrote something, and he was even in line to direct it, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. I might not be. But there was this project that they were trying to get off the ground for a while called Supermax, which was the idea of, it was going to be a Green Arrow movie where Green Arrow is in prison with like this, with all the villains of the Green Arrow and others in DC. And he's in prison and having to fight in prison and stuff like that. And anyway, there is a reference to Supermax in the season finale of Green Lantern. Or Green Arrow, I should say. I'm not going to go into all the details of what it was and what it meant and all that kind of crap, just in case you haven't seen it yet. And in case you're somebody who enjoys watching Arrow, I don't want to give any of that away or spoil any of that for you. But there was a reference to Supermax, which, here's the thing. They might go into next season and do like a full Supermax storyline. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those situations, and I hope I'm wrong about this, but who knows? It might be one of those situations where, oh my gosh, this dramatic thing happens at the end of the season, and it's all resolved in the first 5 minutes of the next season. Whew, glad we fixed that problem. Like, how many shows have we seen do that, right? How many shows have we seen have like some kind of big dramatic thing that they set up at the end of a season, only then to say, like, resolve that 5 minutes into the second season. And they just, okay, that's done. Now let's move on with our true story of the second season. I've seen them do that so many times. So fingers crossed. I mean, just this last episode or last season of Flash, right? 2 seasons ago, or last season, Flash ends with Flash having to go and be a prisoner in the Speed Force. And they fixed that the first episode of the new season. No problem, we get him out first episode. Instead of making it like a half-season quest to get Barry out of the... Boom, it's just right off. How many times have we seen different shows do that? And I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see something similar in the first episode of next season of Arrow. But, I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see. And again, it's tough. I can't go into too many details for those of you who haven't seen it yet who do watch the show. But, yeah, that's what I'm thinking about it. Other than that, I thought it was a pretty solid season finale. I actually thought it was, I've been getting more and more impressed with Arrow this season. I have been off the Arrow train for a long time as far as whether I think it's any good or not, or whether I have any enthusiasm for it or not. But I gotta say, I mean, like the past half season, I feel like they've been riding the ship a little bit. Let's see if they can actually carry that into next season. We'll find out soon enough. All right. Johnny Banks writes, no homo, John, but you look as sexy as hell with those glasses. Oh, yeah. So you guys know, I'm taking them on and off because it's just difficult. You guys know for a long time, whenever I would do these shows, I have a lot of lights and I have 4 monitors. It used to be 3, and now I have 4 monitors around me. And it's eye strain. And I usually end my shows with a bit of a headache for a few minutes. And I wore these gunner glasses that filters out the light that causes the eye strain. The problem is, like, they're these yellow tinted glasses, and a lot of people didn't like the way they looked, and they would comment on it, so I stopped wearing them. And it's a little bit tough. I do get headaches from doing the shows, especially since I'm in front of these 4 monitors so many hours every day. So I picked up another pair that does the exact same thing, only there's no tint on the glasses. So I'm taking them on and off. I take them off when I notice the reflection in the glasses and it bothers me. But yeah, that's what the deal with the glasses is. Thank you for mentioning it. Let's see. Rob McDonald writes, did you see Arrow finale? Loved it. Amell at his best. Yeah, Amell was really good. I mean, look, Stephen Amell has always impressed me in this role. And I believe even when the show is at its worst, Stephen Amell has just gotten better and better in the role. Like, I think he has just gotten better and better playing the Green Arrow and playing Oliver Queen, and he's really made it his. And I've always think, and even when I don't like the show, my frustration is not at, the cast of the show. It's not at him. It's at the writers of the show who I don't believe are writing a good enough show around him. They've got a really good, legit leading man to lead this thing. You got to be able to write better material around it. And doing some cheap-ass version of a Civil War storyline like they were doing for the first half of the season is just BS. And I just kept this show from being good. I mean, it was just ridiculous what they were writing around him. But Stephen Amell is the strongest part of this show. And if they're going to do anything, it'll be because of him. That's just how I kind of feel about it. Let's see. Next one up comes to us from Tom Grocut, who writes, are you watching the royal wedding tomorrow? Probably whether I want to or not, because Anne loves the royals. Anne and Kaori are obsessed with the royals. They absolutely love the royals. They love the queen. They love Harry and his brother, and they're obsessed with this wedding. So I probably, I'm not planning on watching it, but it might be on in my house regardless, so I might be watching it whether I like to or not. And I suppose I should be interested. I mean, technically speaking, the Queen is officially, technically speaking, the head of my government. She is the head of the Canadian government, figuratively speaking. So I suppose I should be watching it with some interest, but I'm not nearly into the royals as my wife is. My wife's not even Canadian. Royce Freeman writes, I recently heard that Kevin Smith joined the picketing line for Dogma to stir controversy. Thoughts on filmmakers doing that? I have no idea what we're talking about, Royce, so I can't really comment on it. I don't know what it is we're talking about. The Halo Brony writes, who of your Marvel heroes are able to use the Infinity Gauntlet? Miss Marvel, Hulk, Thor, Cap, or someone other that is possible? Stan Lee, maybe? It really all depends on how they define who can wield an Infinity Stone. Like, according to Dama, nobody in the history of the universe has ever wielded 2 Infinity Stones. And very, very few creatures ever in the universe could wield 1. I mean, even Star-Lord, who is half celestial, could only hold like one of the stones for a certain amount of time. And before he had to release, that was, I believe it was the Power Stone that he did that. So who there could? I got a feeling Captain Marvel would definitely be one of them. I have a feeling Hulk could. Thor could, I believe. I don't know about Captain America just because he's enhanced but still human. You know what I mean? So that's a little bit different. But definitely a Stan Lee character. Oh, for sure a Stan Lee character could. Let's see. Got a few minutes left here. Commando Knight writes, would you like to see Thor in another trilogy? Yes. Yes, I would. I love the Thor movies. The second one, not so much. But the first Thor is in my top 10 favorite comic book films of all time list. Thor Ragnarok is bloody wonderful. I love, there was a lot of people coming out of Infinity War going, Thor's my favorite Avenger now. Like, a lot of people freaking love Thor in Infinity War. There are more people today who are loving Thor than have ever loved Thor before. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'd completely be down for a Thor trilogy, a new Thor trilogy. I'd completely be down for it. Now, whether or not Marvel's down for that, we'll have to wait and see, but I would be down for it. All right, Jim Copeland writes, has anybody ever told you look like Bono? No. I used to dress up like Bono because I used to play in a YouTube tribute band. I used to have the long hair pulled all back into a single ponytail in the back as I play my guitar and all that kind of stuff. But even then, I didn't look like Bono. But I will take that as a compliment, Jim. Thank you. I appreciate that. Normally, I just have a face for radio. Kristen Philippic writes, what do you think of The Good Place on NBC? I've never seen Plato and Aristotle cited on a sitcom before. Great time for philosophy/theology nerds. Well, you know what? I never watched it until my wife started watching it. And it was one of those things where all of the shows Anne watched were done, or she was all caught up. And this one night, her, like, Corey was over, and they were like, we should watch something, but I'm caught up on everything. And say, what about this Good Place? I've heard it's okay. And they started watching The Good Place, and Anne got obsessed with it. I mean, just obsessed with The Good Place. I honestly don't know if that's her favorite show on TV right now. That or Atlanta is her favorite show on TV right now. But she loves The Good Place. So I ended up watching a lot of episodes. I'll be honest with you. I thought The Good Place with Ted Danson and, I was almost saying Kristen Dunst. Who's Sarah? What's Sarah? Why am I forgetting Sarah Marshall's name? Hold a second here. Good Place cast. It's Kristen Bell. Sorry. Yes, Kristen Bell. Ted Danson, Kristen Bell. And you know what? It's really funny. It's a really funny, thoughtful show. And I think I'm caught up. I think I've seen every episode. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I have now. But it's a good show. Yeah, caught me by surprise. And like I said, it's just one of those things where I don't sit down and watch it by myself, but if I'm hanging out with Ann and Ann wants to watch it, she pops it on. And I gotta admit, I get a kick out of it. It's a pretty funny show. Let's see. History Soup writes, Happy Time is like Roger Rabbit on crack. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. That's the best way I know to describe it. By the way, guys, if you have not yet seen the trailer for Happy Time Murders, I highly encourage that you check it out. You're either going to hate it Or are you going to think it's the funniest thing you've seen all year? For me, it's the best trailer I've seen in 2018 so far. Some people totally hate it. It's just going to elicit that response. It's going to be one or the other with you. I'd be curious to know what you guys think. All right, CK Ghoul writes, do you think we will get a Chewie standalone film? Nah, it's too difficult to actually do a film that way. Focusing on a creature like Chewbacca that doesn't speak English and everything would have to be subtitled or anything, I don't think so. And it really, it's Chewie and Han. It's Han and Chewie. It's kind of like the way you can't even really do a Han Solo standalone movie without Chewie. So you can't do a Chewie standalone movie without Han. So, I mean, I don't really think so. I don't see that happening. Let's see. Luna Comics writes, favorite South Park episode? Mine is the one where Oprah's vagina is sentient. I've got a couple. One is the Shake Weight episode. The Shake Weight episode is ludicrously good. The other one is Canada on Strike. It's about the writer's strike, but instead of, the whole episode is a metaphor for, remember a number of years ago, the Writers Guild of America went on strike? And it was basically mocking the Writer Guild strike. It's very funny, except instead of writers, it's Canadians, and Canada went on strike. With Canada on strike, it's time we said no more. Anyway, you gotta watch the episode, they're great. But my favorite South Park episode, and I will admit there's a little bit of bias here because I was such an avid World of Warcraft player, but is there a World of Warcraft episode? That World of Warcraft episode is an all-time classic, like one of my favorite single episodes of television, not just South Park. It's probably my top 20 like favorite single episodes of television ever. That World of War, and I don't even know if you would get it if you weren't somebody that played World of Warcraft. I don't even know if it's something that you would get. All I know is that Ann and I both laugh ourselves sick whenever I watch that episode. So to me, that's my favorite South Park episode ever. Hudson Smith writes, hey John, why can't most shows stick the series finale ending? I asked because I just saw Seinfeld's ending, kind of disappointed with it. Oh, the Seinfeld series finale was awful. I mean, arguably many, many people, greatest sitcom of all time, bar none to most people, is Seinfeld. And it couldn't stick the landing. Most TV shows do not stick the landing. And wrapping things up is just such a different beast than just continuing on your story. Wrapping it up is a different thing. And I think that has a lot more to do with it than anything else. Clearly, it's talented people. They've made the show super entertaining all this time. Why do such good shows, and Seinfeld's not the only one, a lot of really great shows do this, just completely botch their series finales? It's a mystery. I think I mostly attribute it to the fact that a finale is such a different thing to write than just the next chapter of your story. It's such a totally different thing. And it's hard. Very, very few series ever have really great series finales, but Seinfeld, man, that is such a great example of a great show that totally botched their finale. Darth Impact writes, I was watching the Amazon show Grand Tour, and they did a story on the Fork/Ferrari feud. Do you mean Ford-Ferrari feud? In the 60s at Le Mans. Got me thinking, wasn't there plans for a movie about this story? I think there was. Now, if I'm not mistaken, isn't Grand Tour like basically the show that the exact same guys used to do another show, but then the BBC fired them, so they just went and did another show? Anyway. It sounds familiar. What you're mentioning about that does sound familiar. I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about the world of cars. I know nothing about cars. All right. I drive a 20-year-old, I think it's 20 years old. Like I drive this, or at least almost 20 years old, this Integra. I drive this old beat up Integra that used to belong to my father-in-law. Ann's dad had this car for years and years and years and years and years and years. And it was ultimately just sitting around in the driveway. So me and Ann just went, you know, we need a second car. Can we take it? And they're like, yeah, take it. And I put some money into trying to fix it up. But I know nothing about cars, like zero. I have a hard time putting air in the tires. It's tough for a man to admit that. I have trouble being at a gas station and have any clue about whether or not there's enough air in my tires or not. I know if it looks flat, it needs air. Okay. Connect the plug. Is enough air now? I don't know. take the plug off, I guess. I mean, I know nothing about cars. None. I can check the oil. I can do that. I couldn't change a tire. Oh my God, if I was on a drive to Vegas and my car broke down in the middle of the desert and I had everything I needed to change my tire, they're going to find my body in 3 weeks because I will not be able to get the tire changed. It's embarrassing. It's pathetic. I know nothing about cars, so I can't really speak to it too much, Darth Impact, except that I do believe I remember hearing something about them talking about doing a movie based on that, but I can't really recall too much off the top of my head. So the moral of today's show is John can't fix cars. Okay, Maurice Cook writes, John, will we see Hyperion in the MCU? No idea. Haven't got a clue. Curtis Lopez writes, saw Deadpool 2 at AMC Dine-In. Totally worth it. Why can't all theaters be Dine-In? Dude, it's a good thing. Well, it depends on your point of view. I don't have a Dine-In very close to me. The closest Dine-In, AMC Dine-In theater for me is about a 45-minute to an hour drive away in Marina del Rey. And it is a fabulous theater. It's small. Some theaters have leather recliners. These have big, huge, plush leather recliners that go all the way out. They'll bring you a blanket. You hit a little button. You want a refill on your soda? You don't get up and leave the movie. You hit the button and wait staff come to you and take your order and bring you your soda. I mean, it is pampering in the base. And now you might be thinking to yourself, but John, like having waitstaff coming in, isn't that disruptive to the movie? You would think. That's what I thought. And then I went to the movie and it's like, they were totally non-disruptive. The waitstaff just knew how to come in, take orders, bring food and leave, and it never bothered anybody. And I thought for sure it would be a big distraction, and it's not. Yeah, I've been to like an AMC Dine-In theater 3 times. At most. Because it's so far away. If you get a chance to go to an AMC Dine-In theater, I highly recommend you give it a shot. Aaron Wright writes, what's the deal with Nicolas Cage? Does he have a bad agent or does he just not care? Well, no. I mean, it's not that he has a bad agent. It's just that he's got to work. He's got, if I understand it right, and I might be not understanding this right like at all, but if I understand it right, he owes a lot of money in taxes, like a lot of money. He's got to work and get that money. And he's not being cast in the big roles anymore. That's just what it is. But he's still a big name. So a lot of these smaller, crappy movies, they'll jump at a chance to hire Nick Cage and put Nick Cage in their movie. A multi-Academy Award winning Nick Cage, yeah, put him in our movie. They'll still do that. And he's got to take the work. Because like everybody else, he's got bills to pay, man. He's got bills to pay. Let's see. Aaron Wright. Oop, where'd I go? Aaron Wright writes, no, that was Aaron Wright. Okay, Cobra writes, saw Deadpool 2. I feel no one gives the X-Men film enough credit at how good the villains are. Do you mean X-Men films in general? You're right. I mean, look, first of all, go back to the original X-Men film, Koba. I mean, you're talking about Magneto, who's just automatic top 5 best comic book villains ever. Magneto's got to be up there. Stryker in X2 was a great villain. Let's skip over X-Men 3 for a little bit. But yeah, no, X-Men films, not every time, but quite often they do a great job with their villains. They do a really good job at bringing in, setting up their villains, and making them important to the story, making them key to the story, getting you invested, making you feel dread. They've always done a really good job. And I love what they did with this thing, whether it's, you know, Cable or whoever else. I think they do a really good job with their villains. So I think you're absolutely right. I think X-Men films get overlooked a little bit and don't get the credit they deserve for what a good job they've traditionally done with their villains. Okay, just a couple more here, guys. Luda Comics writes, favorite anime? Mine's Naruto. Still Space Battleship Yamato, Star Blazers. Was my all-time favorite. Nothing's ever come close to it for me. Royce Freeman writes, if you're telling a story that's meant to be a popcorn film, these guys keep fogging up. It's meant to be a popcorn film. Is there such thing as too much character development? I think even in great drama, there's too much. Look, everything needs to be in certain moderation. You know, action films can have too much action. Comedies can have too much humor. Like it's about budgeting, pacing, You can, no matter how much something good is, you can have too much of a good thing. You know, I mentioned on the show the other day, you can die. Nothing is better for you than water. You can die from drinking too much water. Look it up. You can die from drinking too much water. So yes, in any film, even in a character drama, there can be too much character development. Because whenever you do anything too much, you're doing it at the expense of something else. It's all about moderation. It's all about balance. Whether you're comedy or action or drama or period piece or documentary, it's about balancing things out properly. So yes, Royce, absolutely, there can be such thing as too much in any genre of film. Taki75 writes, Russo brothers say Bruce/Nat romance is dead for A4. I've not heard them say that, so I can't address that. Last couple ones here. Royce Freeman writes, back when Dogma was coming out, Kevin Smith joined picket line to stir controversy. Okay. I think that's kind of funny. There's nothing more disarming than, like, if you were trying to boycott or protest a movie and he gets in line to join it, nothing is more disarming. That completely takes the teeth out of the dog. So I don't know if he did it for controversy or just to disarm them, because it would seem pretty disarming. Florian Stump, final question of the day, writes, hey, Giovanni, just wanted to say I love Deadpool 2. Watch it, people. Watch it and stay for the mid-credit scene. Again, best post-credit scene in the history of post-credit scene. Thanks for throwing in your recommendation there, Florian. All right, guys. That will do it for today for this installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget, guys, we do have tomorrow morning another Open Mic, our weekend edition of that. I've got a companion video coming tomorrow morning as well. Keep your eyes open for that. Also, hopefully tomorrow night, I'm going to be airing part 6. Hopefully it's the final part, and we'll be all caught up after that, of the Avengers Infinity War spoiler discussion. That will do it for me for today, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.